How are you doing today?
Not dead yet.
Not dead yet. Wow. Incredible.
Me neither.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah, Jack, it's been a long time. It's really good to see you.
Yeah, same to you. I think about Society Library quite frequently.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm delighted.
It's in the grand panality of things that we need to do to make information more available and trustworthy. It's one of the good ones.
Hmm. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I've been thinking as soon as I saw this on my calendar, I was like, oh wow, the community's probably changed a lot. And now in the era of like vibe coding, we could potentially do a lot together. I saw collaboration was an important point for some in the community. So I'm curious to just check up on everybody and see what everyone's working on and what's new. There's a lot to do.
Lot to do. Lot to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're about to release some bounties too. So I was like, oh, maybe if community want like builds for bounties. Got a few that we're doing this year. A donor has given us to allocate.
Oh, yeah, are the bounties on debate map or is it a separate like repo for
It's
that?
yeah, turn off my video because my internet's been finicky. No, it's like compiling. We still use debate for like structured knowledge, but like
Hmm.
essentially little tools. So I'm gonna pause it.
And Jamie, your voice is breaking up. You seem to be on a weak connection of some kind. At least for me, it is.
Yeah. I was trying to process what she was saying with every other word missing.
Well, she's looking at having some kind of funding for small tools that I presume orbit the same space as what the Society Library's mission is.
Yeah, I would wonder if they're like more. I guess I could see there being value in like internal tools potentially. So I'd be curious if it's more of that kind of thing or just like other small project ideas or something.
I'd be really curious to hear Bentley's take on vibe coding.
AI has significantly increased my speed. Um, it's not technically vibe coding because I tell it where its code is crap. But yeah, I coded up an app for my mom so she can't use the remote anymore to just automatically randomly display videos and her photos. I was able to do that in like a day or, 5 hours or something. So it's quite a benefit. If you don't know code, you'll you'll run into eventual limitations. But it's a great way to prototype. And since so many ideas are better checked before we spend a lot of time developing them, I think it'll be a great benefit to the type of work we do.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
think
it
that
still breaks on you. At some point in the future, though, I think the AI will be able to do it and fix its own mistakes better than right now. So,
yeah, it's definitely pretty good or pretty decent right now, maybe depending on the like what you're using it for, but definitely like prototype stuff, pretty darn good. Bug fixes, pretty darn good. Welcome Ian, welcome Tim.
Hello. How y'all doing?
pretty good. Good. We were just talking about AI stuff. Didn't get into the naming talk yet.
Yeah, I hear it's all the rage.
I just have
Yeah.
an overriding concern that it's going to unleash an enormous number of non-coders into the space where computer science has dominated. I mean, I've got an attempt at somebody is attempting to turn me into a pen pal. I think that he's in Colombia, who's decided he wants to make a mind map for all mankind, all of our great ideas. And he's not a coder, he admits it, but he's pretty damn sure that Claude will help him do it. And 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 yeah, I don't doubt that Claude will help him do it, but will it when we put together software platforms that we expose to the public and say, we're going to help you think through your problems. I just worry what happens when some of those software platforms don't do it well and leave people soured and they don't
Yeah,
go to,
polluting the space and disillusioning them.
yeah, I that it's just a background concern of mine. I mean, I'm not denying that this is going to do it, but um, it's kind of a pain in the ass for me to have to explain to him how AI works. He doesn't even know that. And most people that talk about AI don't even know about logic systems and expert systems and Bayesian reasoning. They did not grow up in that era, and they don't research that area. They just think LLMs are AI, and that's it. And that's just a really sad place for humankind to be. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's not even close to the worst of my worries. I think that person is maybe, maybe Claude will help them quickly get to the next step that we've all gone through as software developers, most of us, where we have the idea and we think we can make the idea. And then as software engineers, we make the idea, and then it's like, ta-da, now what? That's the big thing is we build these tools and it kind of feeds back on itself as a learning experience. And that's why I stopped coding this thing years ago now is I built it and I was like, oh, there's so many things I hadn't thought of. There's so many things, not only that, but the question of how do you get people to use it? How do you know you're solving their problem? How do you make it usable? There's so many other things besides the code itself. And, if you think about Twitter, right? Early days Twitter, the fail whale, right? Claude, the thing you built not working is the least of your problems because if it's popular enough, you can get some software engineers in there afterwards to fix everything. But the main point is to nail the problem and the solution and make it usable and entertaining and worth doing. And that's even Claude doesn't solve that. You got to have maybe it's a non-engineer with the right ideas that Claude can get them at least past the demo stage. None of us have really succeeded in this thing yet. So we'll see.
It's
Yeah.
early days Twitter, as I recall, was written in Ruby on Rails, which did not scale and it crashed, badly crashed. And so they went to Scala, which is a JVM language, but it's a very powerful language. Uh, Being powerful, it means it's also obtuse and hard to read and hard to code, but they did. And that's been their mainstay ever since.
But that's the sort of thing is that's kind of my point is engineering can come later. If somebody's a non-engineer who understands people and can design an interface that people like and is intuitive, that's the first step.
Yeah, maybe we should go ahead and move on to the name
Yeah,
discussion.
we're gonna this is gonna
Yeah,
be
wasn't sure when to interrupt, but yeah. So I've got this doc. I'll just put in the chat in case you guys didn't see it. Uh, I was thinking I have a couple different ideas for things we could talk about based on what people want to discuss. So uh, I think ideally by the end of this, we should definitely try and have like 5 to 10 concrete names so that we can just like vote on something and just pick a name. Um, to get there, I don't know if we'll want to talk about if people have ideas for like not just suggestions, but like, oh, what's core to this community, what's not core to this community. Uh, I guess there's in the agenda, there's also a question about should we have a noun in the name to describe it as a group, or does the name should just be like a generic like collaborative reasoning server as opposed to like collaborative reasoning community. So, do we have any opinions on what we should what we should start with discussion? Do anybody guess any desires for discussing one of these?
um, I mean, taking a step back, a lot of people missed previous discussions. I don't know if we need to go over any of that. And
Oh,
one of the points was, well, there are two main points, which is one, why are we doing this? And two, after that's been answered, is it better to rename the CDL or rename the CDL uh,
server.
server, Discord server, or create a new community server? Those are kind of some of the options on the table besides the new name, in addition to the new name. Do you want to maybe go over that?
Right.
I can
Yeah,
go
so I guess
over
we could start
the.
with the motivation. This is also in the doc, so I just read uh off of this. I guess like the general idea is that the CDL is kind of or like this community has kind of evolved from like the original like uh group where it was originally established as a group. You've got like the website with specific members on it, um, trying to build this like one tool to have the canonical debate. But since then, it's become more of a community that we all have different overlapping, but mostly or somewhat differing like goals. Where a lot of the overlap is that well, we're working on some tool to solve well maybe also slightly differing motivations, but just collaborative reasoning I think is um, a common goal to like help people reason better together, fight off misinformation. um, let's see, I have a list of motivations, but yeah, like fight polarization, make
Maybe I can simplify it.
okay.
Yeah, which is the CDL seems to have a very specific purpose, although a lot of the people involved have lots of other purposes in mind. And we know there's a lot of overlapping domains and ideas that interest people. And the CDL itself is very limiting. And so Joel felt maybe there were a lot of people he'd like to interact with in our realm of interests, overlapping interests, that the Discord server, and through his personal experience, some people have said this, I guess. They think they have to be members in order to participate. It's a little putting off, whatever. It discourages people. And so the goal is to have a place where we can invite more people, kind of grow the community, and talk about all these different overlapping domains of interest. Does that work?
Yeah, yeah. Whereas like the name is, I guess, more explicit. Presentation of the community is more explicit that it's like an open community as opposed to like, specifically canonical, specifically a group that you have membership in. Um, yeah, basically that.
I would also just maybe add one thing. I found it hard to find this group. It would be nice, I think, if there was somewhere on the internet where like people here could come up in the search results. Um, so something maybe outside of a Discord server. It would be nice to be more findable. Yeah.
So
Right.
I just have a thought. The great physicist and later in life philosopher chose to write a book called On Dialogue. He did not write a book called On Debate. And in his opening paragraphs, he takes the word debate and fundamentally tears it apart. Um, and that stuck with me. I'm sorry, it stuck with me. Um, I I believe in conversation and discourse and dialogue, but not debate, because debate is a zero-sum game. You're there to win. You're going to score your points no matter how you do it. And it's very much like ping pong. Ping pong is a game you play not to teach the other person how to play, but to win. Whereas conversation is a place where you express your worldviews and you justify them. And maybe you moved the puck in some direction, and maybe you didn't, but you had your shot. But you didn't do it because you wanted to win. You did it because you wanted to hear from the other person and then compare and contrast your views with theirs and see where learning can occur. So on purely on the naming convention, I'd like to get rid of the word debate. That's all. Over. Sorry, Tim. I know that you invented it, and you have a right to it, but
Yeah, it was designed, it was decided in committee, as a matter of fact, but debate, like just to respond to that, I both fully agree with what you said. In fact, it's in the white paper. That's the problem with debate.
no, it is.
Um, but the word debate, what's interesting is dialogue seems to limit it to a conversation. I know that dialogue can be a bigger concept, but colloquially, when we say dialogue, you think it's a real-time discussion back and forth. And the point of it being canonical is it's something out there that everybody's participating in. And when you say there's a debate going on about something, in that context, debate isn't a one-off activity, competition, but more a concept that is being chewed up and discussed and evolved. But I fully agree with that problem. And I'm not married to the word debate. So yeah, point well taken.
Marc Antoine had his hand up.
Yeah.
And just let me ask you real quick, Marc Antoine, how do you do that here in Zoom? I'm not finding the button to do it. I know it
go,
on Meet, but I'm not
go
finding the
down to
raise hand button.
react. Go down to react, and one of the buttons is raise hand.
Oh, raise hand. Okay, thank you, guys. I thought that was just emoji. Thank
And
you.
there is a auto recognize, but I find it very unreliable. So I end up using the raise hand. Well,
Yeah.
anyway,
Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, there's the difficulty of a name restricts the reality, and we're trying to be inclusive, and the name of subcommittees versus the name of the umbrella. It's hard to adjudicate. I totally agree that debate is very much trying to win. Uh, I think one among many things we're trying to do, and that could be a kind of rallying cry, and I'm not saying it's a name, but it's a what that we're trying to name, is creating uh, the infrastructure for a common reference point for a global conversation. Uh, and that's a mouthful, that's not a name. But the idea that we, as humanity, we're engaged in a global cognition. And it's made more difficult because there's fragmentation of where the conversation happens. And I think one thing we're very much trying to do is say, is it possible that the act of conversation could be in a reference, the kind of conversation global library or global uh,
Society library.
access database conversation library, which is very different. Oops, thing has to go. Okay. So yeah, how, what form does the database have to take to be useful for global cognition? But one thing that debate has that conversation doesn't is the goal of having the reference library is to get more aligned to what is real and what isn't. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll only get real stuff in the library, because the whole point is to have all the positions to explain why one is better supported than another. But one thing that I understand the point of debate is to have elements towards educating truth. On the other hand, it's a conversation that we're all sense making, we're all exploring. So it's an exploration of our different views of reality. But I think, even though I agree totally with Jack, it's not a debate, but we're building this so that we can move towards a conversation that could happen about the truth of certain statements. It's an infrastructure for truth finding or truth exploration, an infrastructure for exploration of statements, of the truth of statements. Okay.
Jamie made a comment. I have my hand raised. Since I'm going to go soon, I'll say my piece real quick and then hopefully come back. So one point is, there's two questions. One is, are we renaming the canonical debate itself? Or are we renaming the group and for the purpose of these larger conversations? So that's one thing that we need to keep clear. Maybe we just stay focused on the group itself right now. Along the lines of canonical debate and the word debate, I think ideally what we're looking for is maybe the dialectic approach, where you're working as a group together to reach the truth rather than trying to compete to see who wins, right? If it were the canonical dialectic, maybe. But in terms of the larger group question, I like Jamie's proposal. That was kind of brought up before by Joel, this sort of thing, focusing just on the fact that it's a group maybe for the people who are working on building the technology. I like the word epistemic, but I think when I use it, nobody knows what I'm talking about. So maybe it's a little, it may be too academic, or maybe it's academic enough because the people who are building the tools know the word. So that's an interesting point to consider. Um, it's becoming popular. I'm going to be using that word a lot. I'm hopefully trying to put together a book in the next 2 years that will talk about that a lot, including epistemic process. That's one of the words I'm trying to put forward a lot now. Is like my goal is generally to improve, build the tools to improve our epistemic process, right? Processes, actually. I think that's the one that's going to move mountains towards whatever the tool or tools are, or at least getting people to understand that that's a thing and that it should be good would be enough to educate people. But so the last thing I'll say is the little bomb I'll throw in here. Not a bomb. It's the thing I've been pushing after our last meeting that the name that I came up with for the group after kind of chewing through it a little comes from the sense making and and the collective decision making parts of this, which would be sense and consensus, maybe the sense and consensus group. So it'd be building the tools that help sense making and help collective consensus making, right? The nice thing is it rolls off the tongue. It requires explanation, but those are my 20 cents, more or less.
Hmm. We like epistemic might be uh I was trying to take notes in the doc, but I think the doc's getting a little big maybe. Um
I like how
On the
the
question,
discussions moved to written to the chat, the silent chat.
yeah. On the question of blog or community, I think that's important. The I keep saying, and Ian was mentioning publicity. I keep saying we need to have a kind of diffusion, but a diffusion by per theme, like kind of have multiple blue sky channels with aggregation and follow up and saying, okay, this is on this team, this is on this team, but they're all tagged with the community at large so that you could subscribe to either the community or to specific streams on thematics. And that could make us more visible.
yes, that does seem like a good idea. Um,
And then if we do individually stuff, like we could also have a kind of planet aggregator so that our individual work feeds into the uh, to the community feed.
yeah, I guess that seems like maybe something we can assume that like we could figure out after having a name, perhaps, or like if we're naming the community, then we'll have some sort of subgroup structure um, to handle those things. Um, Yeah, so it seems like we've kind of thrown out a couple of like ideas that we like and dislike for names. Um, I guess would it be productive to continue the like what is core, what is core and what is not core? Um, or do we want to move, I guess, to like trying to refine a list of specific names? Do we have any ideas for that or?
I think it could be
Eh,
valuable to run through what we what we want to talk about and what we want to not talk about in the name.
Maybe I should just share my screen. I feel like that might help us kind of stay like
Okay,
looking
I'm
at
going to
things.
drop off now, but I'm actually really warming up very quickly to epistemic tech as a very quick and easy term that I like. But
Epistemic
hopefully I'll be
bank.
back soon. Have a
All
good time,
right.
and I'll see you soon.
As I said, if we can talk about processes, but anyway.
Something, yeah, you mean just to include like processes within the name rather than just like tools?
Uh,
Or
it's okay. My problem, I love epistemic. I'm less keen on tech because then it's tech as opposed to people.
right.
Uh, and yes, we're making infrastructure, including tech infrastructure but for people to engage in epistemic processes and collective epistemic processes. Otherwise, what's the point?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess so far what I think we're kind of talking about these two sections in the doc, which is like requirements for a good name, what do we want in the name, and descriptors that might be too narrow. So some of these are populated from earlier, but we were just talking about debate, dialogue being maybe narrow, technology, because tools and processes, might find a home here. Um, uh, we didn't, I don't know if we mentioned canonicality at this meeting, but that uh, might be slightly narrow for our community.
It's
Um,
one of the interests, definitely.
it's definitely, yeah, definitely like within, it's one of the things that has lots of overlap, but
No, I see what you're
not.
saying. I see what you're saying. This is, yeah, I hear you.
So, through my lens, epistemology, when contrasted to ontology, is the way of knowing how you came to understand X, Y, or Z. And we hear of epistemologies in schools. Their way of knowing is lecture and test. Fundamentally, that translates to just in case, which is a rather odd epistemology because they're just throwing facts at you just in case you might need them. Whereas what epistemology means to me is how you learn and how you think, not necessarily what you know, but how you got to that place and what you do with it. So epistemology is a really cool term. I don't think very many people know that.
Hmm.
I just came up with epistemic commoners.
Epistemic commoners.
It's an explicit reference to commons in the Ostrom sense. People
Oh.
building commons, building something that is protected and closed for collective usage. And we're building infrastructure so these commons can be built.
I do feel like this is mainly a tech group, though. Like we are building tech. There are plenty of epistemic processes, and like I would say that the field of like deliberation is very human centric and citizen assembly centric and things like that. But I do think this group and who this group attracts are people who build these processes with tech.
And your voice is working marvelously, Jamie.
Yay!
Yeah, coming loud and clear.
Yeah, whatever it was, you fixed it.
Yeah, I think tech is definitely like most of it, or well, yeah, very most of us, if not all of us, are like tech focused.
Okay.
I was trying to remember.
Well, if you go back
There,
to Engelbart, it's tech plus people. And frequently, tech forgets the people.
One question we could ask that might help narrow this down is whether we want to have a word in this name that describes the group or whether we're okay to just describe sort of the products of the group or the activity of the group. Um, we probably don't want to go longer than like 3 words. So if one of those words is going to be something that just is sort of a synonym with a kind of group, uh, that could narrow things down. And I guess I would personally uh, vote for having a word to describe the group.
Then I'm proposing epistemic tech commons because we're trying to create uh, commons of tech, not just tech on our side, but tech that we share. And so we're trying to build tech in commons.
I think sharing to me includes not just interoperability, but federation.
Which is why I'm
The,
putting it there.
the idea that 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 the output of any epistemic community can be shared with other communities, but shared in such a way that it's combined with all of the communities and organized so things are findable and understandable.
I think thought I have on that is that it is the federation part like it seems like a good thing to have for the community, but is it like a core like I guess if a lot of the community is to have discussions about these tools and improve them, um, uh, like is the federation part of it so core that it like belongs in the name?
Not necessarily. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, uh, a reformed ER doctor, physician living in Bellingham, Washington, um, goes out into communities around the planet and conducts what he calls cave conversations. And he's harking back to the cave paintings in France that you don't get to go see anymore. There was a day when you could, but now you can only see them in pictures. But these were,
Alaska cave.
say again?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, whatever. But they're the earliest form of communication where people used, smoke and put smudges of their hands on the walls, but then later started using charcoal and drawing bison and whatever, and humans in their own form. Um, so he's going back to that, and so he's having what's called cave conversations. And what he creates literally causal loop diagrams, but he calls them cave drawings. He's basically appealing to a historic sense of where we came from. This is what we used to do. Let's do it some more, only with a lot more technology. Now, I can't federate his cave conversations, but they serve their purpose. They're very valuable.
Sorry,
Yeah,
let's go rabbit
yeah.
hole.
So I guess there's on Federation, there's like a lot of processes relating to this, epistemic reasoning that can be improved uh, without Federation necessarily. Um,
I
so
think that there's two aspects to this up to a point. In the sense, there's the data federation that Jack Bark talks about, and I totally subscribe to, and there's the sharing of best practices that we are trying to do in this group. Even if the tools don't federate, we are sharing our findings and ideas. And that's
Hmm.
another form of commons. It's the tool design commons. And maybe that's distinct from but it's still part of the tech commoning I'm trying to bring.
Hmm.
The,
Yeah,
the,
I
the,
think so. I totally agree with that. That the like the idea that this community is like trying to, build up these ideas, um, and develop ideas about reasoning and stuff. But is it? I guess when I think of commons, I don't know if it's like an obvious. Uh, I guess like if it was just called like community or didn't even have a group name or something or lab, like just trying to build up these ideas seems like it kind of implies at least that the ideas are like available. Um, but maybe, I mean, I guess, yeah, like if it was community or something, then like the discussions seem like it would be available. But I don't know, like lab.
communities, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
guess
guess
it could be community.
I guess commons just it it seems kind of like a slightly less used word in this like
It is.
usage. Uh, I I
The,
think
the, the,
it's accurate, but um,
Don't forget that commoner used to be used in a sense that today we would call derogatory.
yeah, I know. But it's been reclaimed
uh,
very much.
yeah. Um, we do have this useful. So Dale did come up with a bunch of these or through AI, these like nouns that describe group projects. So potentially we could take like the epistemic tech part and then just like append, we try out a couple of these like uh epistemic tech lab, epistemic tech, community or
I like collective. I like
network or
exchange, actually.
collective exchange. So this
Mhm.
does seem like it implies like exchanging of ideas kind of thing.
I like exchange too. It's like a little bit more difficult to parse than like, hey, a bunch of people come together, but like it sounds cool.
Yeah, epic stuff. I guess one maybe downside that I just thought is like when you think of exchange, does it seems kind of like you have ideas already and you're just exchanging them rather than like developing them together. That may be just like a nitpick, but like, you know,
I
I,
think that's what this group has been this whole time, though. Like we've tried to
oh,
build stuff together, and then we have our own things going on, and we share and co-create some things, but oftentimes we have different premises about what to prioritize, and that's just kind of the way it's been since the very beginning.
Not wrong.
well, but I mean like not even just in developing tools together, but like the ideas together. Well, like, maybe we bounce off ideas and then a new thing spawns or something. Not not necessarily that we like actually build a tool or something, but
Yeah,
the hope being that like, with the exchange of ideas that there's like a additional flourishing of they add up to be something else.
yeah,
Uh,
that's what I like about Exchange is that like I think we're at a point where technology has become and like we were talking about vibe coding earlier and how easy it is to like whip up demos and things like this. I think like the field is now at a point where we could get a lot more done if we were collaborating. So something I've been trying to socialize is like, hey, here's our stack of tools. Can you use these tools? Like you can hit our API. Like I feel like if we all collaborated and like nerding out about one small bespoke little tool that can be interoperable and modularized with other systems, then we could benefit all of our systems. So the exchanging of tools like, hey, we'll handle, deductive reasoning. Hey, we'll handle deconstructing video. Hey, we'll handle like all these things. To me, it like kind of speaks into what I think the dream of this group originally was, and what I think would also be most efficient is if we were actually exchanging tools and not like duplicatively doing things over and over again, but breaking off pieces of what we like know needs to be done fundamentally, and then incorporating that into our larger systems that may be like different enough where collaboration is not possible as like a one-to-one overlap.
Full agreement there.
Mhm. I definitely agree. I definitely agree that it would be great if we could, all work on things that don't have overlap and it's like, efficient, all of us making progress together. That would be great. I think I like today it's definitely not the case, right? So I guess what I was hoping is that, well, we the naming, I guess, can establish a community that like further like encourages more discussion, which discussion can then turn into, if there is more discussion that's more organized into like subgroups, whatever, subgroups like naturally form, then eventually like there could be the actual building of like separate things that come together. But I guess just like today it's not the case, and so naming it based on that uh idea at least seems like not, it's like hoping that it turns into the case rather than like what we currently are.
I think there's a lot to be said about intention, though. Like we could intend for that. This is an exchange, and like it could slightly, like if we want that to be the direction that we change it into, then we can invite people into that. Like we, for many, many years, had all of these like group Zooms where people come and show off their tech. And like I've definitely taken advantage of that in that like I've hired people from those processes to work on things for me. So like that would be even more cool is if like the monthly meetups were like, hey, show us this cool tool that you made. And then other tool builders are there and they're like, I could use that. Like, can I help co-develop that for you? Is that an API that I could use? Like to me, that would be a productive end state for this group is let's go out and find people, have them talk about their tooling, showcase their tooling, and then it gets used for projects that are close enough to these interests, but like outside of it. Like not to go on too much longer, but just quickly saying that like there's a huge movement in like the democracy space for like citizen assemblies and deliberative processes, and a lot of them are just like wrapping around polis and things like that, which is great. Like Colin's great, polis is great, but we obviously could bring a lot more sophistication to what it means to like scale deliberation and argumentation and debate, or dialogues or like whatever. And having an opportunity to invite people in and do those showcases means that we could enrich other fields that like do have momentum and audiences and interfaces with government and stuff like that. So I think we could speak it into
Hmm.
existence.
Hmm. Hmm.
Also, Marc Antoine, it's so good to see you and hear your voice. I didn't say that earlier because I think you popped in after Jack, but so nice.
Good to hear you.
All right, well, I think we should put that down as a nomination. So we're for that one, like epistemic tech
Exchange.
exchange kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So I certainly.
And it's a cool acronym, ETE. Yo, are you going to ETE today?
Going to eat. We got lunch going on today. We'll have to move the meeting to be over lunch or something.
Now, plus one on this one. I've no.
Well, maybe Well, if we think of more like, core, what's too narrow, feel free to speak up. But potentially we could just start, if you guys have more specific ideas for names to put into a poll, um, we got we have room. I just kind of threw a couple in. I put Tim's in here, the sense and consensus thing that I just put in the epistemic tech exchange. But so just I guess for context, I didn't mention this in the meeting yet, but I think it was in the agenda. But like the the hope is that we make a list of like 5 to 10 specific names, and then I'll send out a voting poll, um, like scored voting probably, just to so that there's like an actual vote on the names. So hopefully we can get a list of like diverse options, I guess, that covers kind of the things we've wanted.
I'm obviously keen on augmented collective intelligence as well. I just saw structured reasoning lab. This I both like and dislike because one of the few things we all agreed on in terms of methodology is the importance of progressive formalization. And I like structured reasoning, but if we could make it more active, like the structuring reasoning, it's not this horrible said like
Hmm.
that, but the idea of we're helping people scaffold their reasoning so that it can be more structured and more collective. But that's hard to make it.
Oh, wait, sorry. Was the main thing is that it's not like collective or not collaborative. Doesn't sound
But it's not a process. Structured sounds like we expect the reasoning to be structured as opposed to
Oh, I
become
see.
structured. Of course, the lab kind of undermines that a bit, but uh, but you see what I'm trying to. But I do like the emphasis on structured reasoning because it is a key thing we're doing, or structured conversation or structured. But yeah, it's the idea that it's a process of making it more structured rather than saying that it has to be structured at the start.
Hmm.
If you see what I mean, it's
I
some
think
of
that
these
makes
things are
sense.
hard to convey.
Yeah, I guess epistemic implies that kind of the how you came to that. I don't know, maybe like collaborative reasoning doesn't really imply structure, but maybe if the word collaborative kind of implies that you're like working to refine together or something.
The thought refinery.
Thought refinery. Ooh.
I'm just being this is semi-facetious, but I'm almost serious on refinery. I'm not sure this is the right formulation, but again, this is what some of us are building, as opposed to the aim of the group is the exchange around this. Uh, so that way, I do like exchange. I still like commons better, but that's me.
And
Uh,
honestly, if I can just pipe in for a second, I've noticed that like epistemic tech is like becoming a thing. And there's a lot of like fundraising opportunities around reasoning tech. And I think it may be a different type of proposal to submit like, hey, we're a community that's going to like be a field developing entity, and like a field builder as opposed to a tool builder, even though we're all tool builders, of course. And we could potentially get money to like pay speakers who could attract and grow the community. Like, imagine if we could hire someone who could speak on being a dissident in an authoritarian country and talk about like their sense making needs or their reasoning needs to a bunch of tool builders who can then like potentially like understand the use cases of a specific like niche group or individual and like opt to build tooling for that. It just seems like something that would be attractive to funders of like and like a mechanism that could both build community and give community purpose. So like there is a grant that's due at the end of this month from FLF around AI and reasoning, and I intend to apply for like building tools, but also I'm not sure if they would get money applications about building community, and maybe this community could ask for that specifically to pay like the costs, the time of whoever's going to facilitate and do outreach, and then compensate speakers to like build and like catalyze the community. So we have more tech people who are new to like epistemic stuff and argumentation, but that are willing to collaborate with people who do have expertise and also people who have needs so that shit gets done.
Yep.
And I'm happy to write that proposal with like those ideas if we can send around a name that I think reflects that. And I honestly think Epistemic Tech Exchange definitely reflects that. And the fact that we have a history, like what are we going back to 2016 or something? And we can talk about the many projects that have already come out of this. And like, many of us like work on other projects or have our own organizations. And so just saying like this group helped catalyze all this other stuff, right? Like Society Library found debate map this way. Marc Antoine built a lot of our like initial tech this way. Like we can talk about how successful it's been, and how successful we think it can be if we had money to like invite speakers and like we're able to do outreach to make people aware of this community and catalyze the field.
That all sounds right. No, I'm warming to Tech Exchange, the Epistemic Tech Exchange. There's nothing wrong with that name to me. I was not keen on epistemic tech, but the exchange makes it more about us, which is good. And it's true that tech is a broad word also. I mean, it's techniques. Like we spoke about processes, right? It's not just technology, it's techniques as well.
Very true. And
Mm.
like, people's like processing and like use of their own faculties is early technology too, right? Like language is technology, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, in that sense, exactly. Exactly. So if we say tech instead of technology, also it's a bit underhanded, but it does broaden the scope in a way I like.
Well, I think the name is really about what people like colloquially think when they hear
I
it.
know,
It's not
but
like the tech. No.
I did say it's underhanded.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're allowed to be cute and cheeky.
Hmm.
I, we might have a consensus. Anybody unhappy with the epistemic tech exchange? What are the cons? I don't see any.
Well, I guess for one, I don't think everybody's here right now, so I guess like the intent
No,
was
you're
still to
right. There
have.
should be more process, and I like the list that is there, and we can see if we can add more. But I think I like, by the way, what you've done about what's too narrow, what's the broad thing. That's good work, Joel, and appreciate it.
Thanks, yeah, and help from Ian as well. Um, so I think honestly I think exchange could be good. I think I do have non-zero number of. Oh no, that's not even. I guess I didn't have a line for it yet, but I guess one downside is what I was trying to allude to earlier, where like uh it seems like it kind of it implies that all these ideas that are being exchanged, they already exist, and it's not as much about the flourishing that comes from the exchange. Just, that's just like an immediate, or like an initial reaction when I hear the word exchange. I think of like, oh, Wall Street, or you're just like
Then let me take a page off Jack's book, Epistemic Tech Garden.
garden for like growing. That
Hmm?
could be, but
And
so there, that
tending.
downside of that is that then there's like knowledge gardens as like a knowledge gardens are like a single thing as opposed to like a process or not a process, sorry, as opposed to like a uh, community of separate things, I guess. It's a very niche criticism, but
Well,
Let me counterpoint. Oh, sorry, Jack. Very quickly, let me counterpoint. Exchanges were places where new things appeared. Also, over, Jack.
So, thanks to a Nova Scotian named Mark Spakowski, we adopted a new term called knowing garden, which is the active sense of knowledge. And knowing implies process. It implies epistemology and an ontology. And so we captured knowing.garden as a TLD, and I was gifted knowledge.garden. And the project that Marc Antoine is leading with me is called sensecraft.garden. Um, so the gardening metaphor is the same metaphor you use in kindergarten. When you take kids out, kindergarten comes from the German, which is the child's garden. And and one of the things you do with children in kindergarten, at least in my experience, is you actually have them plant radishes or or some kind of a plant that they can then harvest and take home and the family can eat. So it gets them involved in the whole process. So garden is okay. Exchange is still okay for me.
but I guess in that realm, in that example, like the garden is it still seems like, everybody's working on the same thing. Like it's one like the
Uh,
garden in this case seems like one tool rather than like the epistemic realm, like we're all trying to advance the epistemic
as
realm.
opposed to an epistemic jungle.
Oh.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, but it's
I
appropriate.
see. I see where the garden hybridizations happens in gardens.
I mean, for example, in our knowing garden activity, I've been taken, I don't know that Marc Antoine has adopted it, but I've taken to the Disneyland metaphor. If you go into Disneyland or Disney World, you go under a bridge, which is the railroad that is a train that takes you all the way around the park. But you first encounter a very tall bronze statue of Walt and Mickey. And then you walk around that and you go down the street, Main Street it's called, to a travel circle, just like the kind you find in England. And from that, you branch out into different directions, different attractions for different people and their ambitions. And I think that an epistemic community should be exactly like that. You should be able to go over here and do this, or go over there and play that game, or go over there and walk through that museum of thinking and blah blah blah. That's to me, that is a knowing garden.
For me, the other pro of garden is curation. By the way, Foundry Foundry is something that tries to create something. It does sound like we're trying to create this one thing. And I did like of the exchange that it was more there's a diversity that tries to hybridize and cross-pollinate. Uh, and Foundry sounds like we're trying to meld it into one big thing, but it does have the quality of creating and improving, Foundry, Crucible, all this stuff that means continuous improvement. Yeah, add Crucible
Hmm.
to the list, I guess. I don't know if it's something we want to adopt, but just for exhaustivity's sake.
I yeah, in my mind, Foundry was kind of similar to Lab. Although maybe
Mm,
Foundry does have more of a like melding
Oh no,
together.
we're building
Like,
something. It's more lab. We're trying things out.
oh,
Foundry is more
I
goal
see, I see.
directed.
Right, that's a good point.
But we're building this one thing in Foundry, which I don't think we are. And that we exchange did express the fact that we're exchanging and cross-pollinating. Hopefully, sometimes.
I think Tim is edging in the direction of epistemic makerspace.
That is interesting. Epistemic tech makers, builders.
Makers, yeah, makers and builders are
The,
Well, I don't know if it's only a California thing, but makerspaces are pretty popular in San Francisco and other areas. So an epistemic makerspace does in
I,
fact.
I, it
I
gave me an idea. Go ahead.
oh, okay, I was gonna say I used to be on the board of a makerspace, and I'm a big makerspace person. And it was always like this, like it's to me like the stretch of a makerspace to include people who don't actually physically make things. Because like hackerspace is more like software tech, which I think is a lot of what we're doing. We're not like doing sculptures or like things like that. So I don't know. When
Mhm.
I think makerspace, I think tinkering with toys and robots and stuff like that.
I must say, when I heard makerspace, what came to mind was, oh, we're not a makerspace, we're a thinkerspace. uh, and that made me think also of tinkerspace because we're tinkering with thought tech. But
This is fun.
That's cute.
Word
yeah,
salad and evolution of terms. This is fun.
yeah. So thinkerspace and tinkerspace, which are cognates, we could have fun with this. Epistemic tinkerspace. A bit redundant, but
I would just say I would argue, although it's cute, a cute idea to consider. I do think like if we want money and we want potential and we want serious things to get done, exchange sounds more like adult work, Like someone mentioned that it was likened to like a stock exchange. It sounds like serious business, and I think that if
there I agree.
we're yeah, if we're ever gonna try to get out of like we're a cute community that like is productive in some ways, but like if we want this to have like momentum and potential, which is like what we should aim for because we all have this shared dream of the world benefiting from these processes, then again, maybe we should think about speaking that into existence with identity.
That way thinker is too cute. I do still like thinker space, I must say, but again, some people oppose thinking to building, which is a problem.
Well, my experience at maker spaces in the Bay Area was that you could go there and you could get access to tools and build shit. I wish I'd had it when I built my airplane. But the fact is that you also went there and sat in lectures or gave lectures. So it was more than just making stuff.
I think that
But there's there
oh,
go
no, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I think there's maybe a bit of a tension here around the desire to like get funding and scale this and have this be like a single project with definite borders, even if it pulls in technology from different places, and the desire to have a space that's approachable for people who are newer to thinking about these things and kind of becoming part of a conversation for the first time, or maybe you're just like thinking about these things for the first time. It seems like those you would want different things from a name depending on which of those directions you're trying to go in. Um, I'm not sure if the decision has been made on whether this is like a CDL rename or whether it's going to be a new thing, but that might be relevant to try to nail down because the CDL project seems very much more uh, on the getting shit done side of things. But I would also just say that it seems important to me also to have a place for people to land that's welcoming, that are, maybe don't have a tool to contribute yet, or maybe don't have a lot of experience in this space yet.
I would just say, yeah, I don't, I'm not sure if that's actually like the fundamental tension. And I've been out of this community for a little while, so maybe I'm missing on like a tension that emerged. But like from the very beginning, and I'm one of the co-founders of Canonical Debate Labs. Oh, yay. And Tim, looks like Tim is back, and Mark Antoine's here too. So like, I'm pretty sure like we're some of the OGs, and it was always like we have a shared collective dream, and we're going to figure out how to like make that work together, which is the canonical debate like North Star. But we also all had our own things going on, and we always like reserved our own capabilities to like execute a strategy or operate on premises that were different than what we could find consensus around. So I feel like it's always been both. And when it comes to, so I feel like it can continue to be both, right? But with
It should.
exchange, it doesn't mean that like we are trying to build like the one tech to rule them all. Instead, it's just like the shared North Star, the shared dream, the shared vision, which is like was like generally canonical debate like capabilities. But also allowing people to like continue to build on their own things. And so just that collective sharing of ideas and technology and whatever, I think can just allow a plurality of things to happen. And I think Exchange also welcomes like, the people who like want to be like an apprentice to this and is still like open and inclusive of like come and join this community, talk about these ideas, watch these presentations, think about how you can contribute or benefit or whatever. And as far as a new organization goes, I think it should be the same organization because I think it is just shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't take advantage of the fact that we do have a history that has yielded successful things to happen. And for those of us who may want to, and it's not necessarily about scaling or like making it a thing, but just making it so the shared dream that we have of like people benefiting from these technologies to help them think and reason and collaborate becomes a possibility, then why not think about just the opportunity for funding? It may not be the thing that everyone is interested in, but like I think we would just be like kneecapping ourselves if we didn't keep that in mind.
So, yeah, I think there are forgive me if I'm just repeating exactly what was said, but like I think definitely there are like two goals that are happening here that like okay, there's the goal. I think uh maybe I didn't say this quite explicitly in the context for this meeting today. Um, I did personally have the goal of the rename to make the community less of a specific group, like explicitly less of a group, so that it's more just like a community that people can flow into. There's no membership. It's just like anybody on the internet comes on, they find this name and they're like, oh, I want to talk about, epistemic things. I join. I don't have to contribute to a project or anything. We can just talk about the various like topics within the epistemic realm. And so that was a motivation for me in like having this rename idea or not either rename or other community. I think there is definitely, the other idea of like, okay, like there is the Canonical Debate Lab group already, but like maybe we could rename it to like retain the groupness of it, but make it more like appealing, um, like as a group, more inclusive as a group, as opposed to an open community that doesn't necessarily have a formal structure, I guess. So there's like those are two things that are definitely at conflict. Maybe wasn't explicit thus far. Um, but yeah, I would would say that I was thinking about that a little bit as well as Ian, I guess.
I've got to skip off, but I do like this conversation. See you all.
All right, thanks, Jack.
We are. Oh no, we're not yet at time. Sorry. Um,
I guess when is it scheduled for? I wasn't sure if it was an hour, hour and a half. I think we could
no, it
try
was
to aim.
we still have 15 minutes in the original schedule.
Okay,
Oh no, no,
great.
no, we are 15 later. No, we are beyond. But anyway, the what I heard you say is let's try to have the goal of openness more at the forefront, and I agree. And I don't think it's contradictory to what Jamie's saying. There's the other goals of let's try to get actual collective projects off the ground, and that means making it fundable. I don't think Tim said two orgs or maybe an org was a suborg. I really think it should be a suborg. I think I don't think they should be two separate orgs, but I think we need to be clear. There's this goal of being inclusive, and I really believe in it. And there's this goal of some people want to do stuff separately, and some people want to do stuff under this umbrella, and that's a subgroup, and that should be possible. But yeah, broad group and many subgroups because diversity of interests. That's also the reality. And that way it is a exchange, as in market style. I don't think I'm adding anything new. I'm just noting I don't see a contradiction. I see there are things to hold in tension, but I think they're simultaneously true.
I mean, specifically for the name exchange, I do think that exchange could cover both of the possibilities of having the like open community and then a further like
Yeah,
subgroup, I guess, that like moves forward certain projects.
exactly.
Hmm. Well, I think our main goal, well, yeah, main goal was to come up with names to vote on. Um, yeah, I guess I'm trying to decide if the like the goal separation is like significant enough that there's more discussion that's needed. It's possible
Okay.
that we pick a name and then that discussion yeah. Like I do feel like most of these names probably are okay as an overarching community thing that can have a subgroup, but perhaps I guess if there wanted to be a subgroup, then the name might be more, you wanting to be thinking about like how, what is fundable or what like sounds kind of fundable.
Was
Well,
the goal
thinking
to vote within this meeting or to put it to the
Uh,
broader community to digitally vote on?
digitally,
I,
yeah. So
the latter.
yeah, the goal was to come up with names here and then send it out to the Discord um, for everybody to vote on because not everybody is able to make it, I guess. Yeah.
I was lucky my last meeting ended early. So I think the goals are accomplished. Let's start with that.
Okay.
I agree.
Um, I see. I'm just gonna split this into two options here. See, one or two lines in it. Yeah, and we only have. I think it's reasonable to go up to like 10 options if we have ideas before we part ways. We've got 7 here. I think the epistemic thing covers a lot of desires. Tim's sense and consensus. We probably just leave the structured reasoning lab, even though there were some downsides to that one. Just for another option to vote on, I guess. Look through these quick. I guess we didn't have any of the like maker builder space ideas in there. I don't know if um, anyone feels strongly about those or Foundry having a suggestion in there with that in the name. All right, how does everybody feel about the nominations in here? Are we satisfied at least the thing that you're feeling strongly enough is in there to be considered?
I I think this is a very good list. And people, let's make it open-ended. If people want to propose variants, they can. And if a lot of people feel very strongly about one of the new proposals, we'll have a second round. But I think let's get started with that and get a round of voting.
When you
Oh,
say wait, when you say like propose variants, like you mean in Discord, like oh the voting happened in a because I was gonna use a score voting tool that's like you can actually like
oh,
assign scores to things. Um, but I don't know
uh,
if those kind of tools would have a like suggestion option or not built in.
listen. Okay, if somebody, let's put this list in Discord. Let's ask first anything you feel is absolutely missing from that list. Let's
Hmm.
make that a few days, and then
Okay.
let's have a normal voting.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds
Doesn't
good.
have to be that complicated.
All right. I'll do that then.
I would like it if people can vote, can approve multiple ones, but that's classic.
Yeah, that's why I was hoping to do like a score voting because then you can just, you know,
Decide.
heads, vote for all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Okay.
right. Well, thank you
Thank
everybody
you
for
all.
discussing. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you guys.
All
Thanks for
right.
keeping this wonderful community going and growing after so many years. It's so cool to visit and come back. Thank you.